Right. Good evening. Thank you, committee. Welcome to the meeting for the Finance and General Purposes Committee. We have Councillor Mrs Mockford on Zoom and no public in the room. And we also have, I think that's everybody else in the committee here. So welcome. Right, there's no public participation, so we'll move straight on with the agenda. Apologies for absence. We're all here, so no apologies this evening.
Councillor Visit, the town mayor.
Oh, the town mayor. I should think this time of year he's incredibly busy. So, and the second item 2 on the agenda is to receive the minutes of the meeting held on the 21st of December. This is for accuracy purposes. So I'd like to propose those. Please may I have a second?
I'd like to second that.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Right, are there any comments anyone wants to make? Okay, so we can move forward to accept the minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Just make sure I've got blank ink.
Just like that. There's anything for you to sign, but there is. See, there is on there.
Better signature. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, item 3, to receive any declarations of interest. Are there any new ones? I must declare myself for item 16 and 17, or items 16 as a trustee of the Chequermead Theatre.
Likewise.
Thank you, Councillor Barnett. Nothing else new. Right, item 4, Chairman's announcements. The police have asked for a small alteration to the land registry deeds at the old courthouse police station. The correction will be made, if correct, for actual use, which was incorrect on the submitted drawing. When the layover of the building outline was placed over the land registry document, it didn't match. This is being corrected at the cost of the police. There is no loss of land or change to any current use. It is correcting an admin error only. So just for your information on that. The Chequermead Theatre asked the council to provide a letter to support for a grant for £50,000 for replacement lights in the theatre. The application is for a Suez grant. The clerk provided the letter of support after advising the chair and vice chair. We wish them well with their bid and to upgrade the lighting to reduce the energy costs used at the theatre. As you can imagine, there's lots of lights going on there. The budget working group discussions are continuing and the papers are due to be issued next week in good time for consideration before the January budget committee discussions. Council will set the budget and precept on January the 30th. Right, thank you. Item 5, to receive the list of payments for September, October and November 2023. The list of payments are attached in your report on Appendix A, and Dan Chambers is available. So I propose the payments. Please may I have a second?
I'd like to second that.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Anyone want to have any questions or anything for Mr Chambers on this occasion? Thank you, Councillor Gibson.
Just up to inquire, the big jump in November 23 staff payments was presumably because back pay was involved.
That's exactly right.
And I see that there's I'm assuming that CCTV ECWC is East Court toilets.
It is the toilet blocks over there.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. I thought it was on the outside, not the inside.
Definitely on the outside. Unfortunately, it was vandalised and had to be repaired. So, are there any other questions? Can we vote to accept this? Thank you. Swiftly moving on to item 6, the Town Council Finance Position Statement. This is for noting. Dan can highlight anything and take any questions if anyone would like to ask Mr Chambers anything. Councillor Barnett.
I think I've got the answer to this, but just to be sure. Year-to-date expenditure, 83% of budgeted expenditure. I take it that essentially that's down to capital payments, which therefore are not sort of come when they come, rather than anything else.
It's a combination of everything, literally. I mean, it's salaries, for example, is slightly over budget. I mean, the easiest way, well, I say the easiest way, the table in the report summarises each cost centre, and I can just talk through some of the variances there.
But they seem more or less in line with expect.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean,
something else.
Yeah, I mean, by far and away, I suppose the biggest item of capital expenditure that we've incurred has been St Barnabas, which is, that alone is responsible for a big swing in that percentage. Yeah.
Councillor Whitaker.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I just ask, this time of year, you've already mentioned the budget
Yes.
for the next financial year, Chairman. It's usual, obviously, as part of that process, to have a more accurate steer on the likely forecast year-end position on expenditure as at 31st of March 2024. Don't expect an answer now, but by next week, can we have a? There might be a figure, in which case you can let us know. But
Well, I mean, I think it's probably worth saying now that, so at the moment, if you see on the income and expenditure, we're showing a year-to-date deficit of 199,610. Now, again, predominantly, a lot of that was down to St Barnabas and the purchase of new vehicle. However, at the moment, and obviously, as you rightly say, as time goes on, the prediction will likely to slightly change the nearer we get to the end of the year. But at the moment, although we're showing a deficit of, say, 199,610, 157,000 of that is going to be funded from what we currently have in our earmarked reserves, which then obviously leaves 42,000. So on the face of it, I would say a deficit of 42,000. However, another sort of caveat to that is we're still due about £25,000 of Section 106 money from Mid Sussex. So that would obviously go a considerable way to offsetting the 42,000 deficit, which actually only leaves a reduction in the general reserve of 17,000 at year end.
So when we meet next week for the final thing, we're looking at really spending everything we've got and having.
It's more the out-turn forecast from the budget that was set a year ago.
Yes.
Notwithstanding the 106 finances, which aren't usually included in it, and capex expenditure. So the general day-to-day income and expenditure. So I didn't want to extend the discussion. Sorry, that's all right. Not my intention, but it's kind of relevant.
It is relevant
for overall context of budget setting.
Yes, and I will try and meet with Mr Chambers
That's fine.
early next week before we have. I know we've got a meeting booked for next week, so I'll try and find some time to come in just so we can add that into context of the conversation. So thank you, Councillor Whitaker. Thank you. Okay, so after those questions, can we accept? Oh, sorry, you're coming back. I didn't see your hand quick enough. Sorry.
It's a profiling question. Because clearly, sort of the budget is such that largest items might, I noticed that there was things like a very large insurance expenditure and things like that, which can impact on the overall profile. And I just wondered how well the budget was profiled in terms of expectations for the year as you go through it, and the ability to forward forecast.
Yeah, it's a good question. The budget is profiled throughout the year. However, obviously the figures that this report is able to produce is only showing you the annual budget. I do then have my own calculations which profile it throughout the year so I can see where we are. But yeah, on the face of it, the current reports with the software we use aren't very accommodating to the idea of showing the profile. If that
You've got an
makes
Excel
sense.
spreadsheet off to the side.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Thank you. All right.
Sorry.
Yes,
Just
councillor
following on from
Odie.
that, is there anything then that you need, Dan, to make it better, a bit easier for you?
I would say no. I mean, in an ideal world, yes.
Okay.
But the software that we use, I think the one part that I've just touched on is one of the small downsides. There are many, many upsides to it, and it is specifically tailored to the unique sort of requirements of local government accounting for town and parish councils.
Yeah, I think if I just add to that exactly that point, that the system we are using is designed for town and parish councils. It is the industry leader. There are 2 or 3 others out there, but this is the one favoured by the majority of councils. It's not perfect.
Yeah, exactly. It's not perfect, but I think if you were to change it, you'd be having a small
Even less
gain here,
so.
but quite a big loss
I
there.
think the only thing that would technically benefit probably, sort of the role and everything that these things use is a budgeting profile side on side, but you could do that,
Yeah,
with, you could do that with an Excel spreadsheet. As much as paying for a budgeting tool. But that's a conversation that can be had if Dan would feel that it would benefit the budgeting tool, but that's a conversation. So thank you for raising that. Okay, is there anything else around the table? No, can we move to accept those? Thank you. Right, item 7, performance indicators and the HR update. To receive the report on the current KPIs for invoices and absences, along with the staffing update. This is for noting, so I am open to questions. Do we have any questions this evening?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously yes, Councillor Barnett.
Clearly the comments about sickness is walked somewhat by one person.
Yeah.
Accident or whatever. But having been away from here for a number of years, I'm still trying to get my head around some of the trends. With the working from home during COVID and post-COVID, do you see any impact that might have on staff sickness, whether people work when they've got a bug at home where they might not come into the office, or is there any sort of trend that you think is worth flagging out?
The overall figures for sickness, the trends haven't changed much. If you compared it year on year for the last 5 years, I was having a look at this very thing recently. It's very similar. There is nothing there to say post-COVID, post-working from home, hybrid working, it's any different. I think it then becomes a bit of a separate issue, is do we then have an issue with staff who work from home where maybe they're not well and perhaps they should be saying I'm not well enough to work, but they're actually working from home? I don't know.
I'm conscious from my own work environment, that sort of thing seems to be.
It's a constant
yeah.
bugbear of mine. We obviously speak to staff if they're off sick.
Yeah.
During the first couple of days they're off, and then I will say to them, if you are not well, please go back to bed. Do not log into the computer. We would rather you took some downtime and actually were better and fully raring to go. My staff are brilliant, and I have to say, so many of them will just say, no, I'll work, I'm fine, I'll log in, I'll check my emails, I'll do this, I'll do that. And they work a full day even when perhaps they really shouldn't have done, or maybe we sent them home or asked them not to come in because whatever they had might be transferable. The only thing that I think we might be useful doing is not about picking on staff, but I wonder if we actually separated out the trends against the office staff and the outside staff, because I'll be honest with you, most of the sickness tends to come from our outside team, and that's simply because they're working outside.
Yes.
So it's injuries, it's the manual basis of the work, it's the injuries, it's the nasty colds which they can't turn in for. They can't turn on a computer and go and dig a grave. It doesn't happen.
No, exactly.
So I think you'll probably find that actually
That might be an interesting piece of work to do. Just out of curiosity, really, it'd be an interesting piece of work to carry out. Just to see, because I do find that if people are working from, I think what you're saying is, and as you've said, if people are unwell, they tend to work from home because actually they don't have to get dressed to go to work. They can just literally get up and turn their computer on and do their work, keep their head down. So it might be a little inflated or underinflated, actually, is the word, isn't it? So, okay, yes, Councillor Gibson.
Just a point on invoices paid, that I presume that's by number. I just wondered what the figures would look like if it was done by value. Is it, do higher value invoices take longer to get paid?
No, probably more the opposite. Probably the smaller ones take longer, because it's the smaller ones who seem to, for whatever reason, you know, I mean, it's, as you can see by the percentages, it's, you know, nearly all of them are paid on time. But there's always
99% if you were to do it by value.
There's always one or two that, for whatever reason, don't arrive, you know, on my desk for payment, and I'll suddenly get it, and it was dated 2 months ago, and I don't want to say I throw my toys out the pram because I feel like that. But no, it does. 9 times out of 10, it does tend to be the small value ones which seem to get lost, and obviously, you know, it makes sense that the bigger value ones kind of don't, as they're more on people's radar.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions? Right, this report is for noting. Thank you. Item 8, internal audit. This is to receive the interim report from the internal auditors. I'd like to draw your attention to the last page, page 11 of Appendix D. The first recommendation on that page: are the committee happy to leave it as it is, or would you like to consider uplifting the fidelity guarantee? This one is the insurance of the amount of money that we hold and how much we are insured for. The reason for asking: fidelity guarantee is to 1.373 million, and at times during the year we are above that figure. Whilst the risk to the council is small, as there are 4 individuals comprising of the town clerk, the finance officer, and 2 signatures from the councillors, we need to be compliant with any fraud for it to occur. It may be sensible to increase the premium to 1.573 million. This is an increased premium of £79 a month to our costs, but we may wish to do that to cover it. So can I take anyone's opinions on whether anyone would like to increase that, or whether they feel that the points that we have in place and the fact we fluctuate and are very rarely over that 1.373 million, whether we need to increase it? Councillor Whitaker.
Chair, can I, with respect, could I ask the town clerk's opinion on that?
Yes, of course you may.
You certainly may. It's something I discussed with the leader, and actually this has been brought up particularly because the RFO and I had a conversation, and we felt there's something that should be brought before council. At this point in time, we would probably say you don't need to. If you feel more comfortable doing so, then by all means do. It's going to be an increase of £79 a year premium. That's absolutely nothing. Because the requirement, as the leader just explained, because the requirement for a fraud to take place involves the complicity of 4 people, including the clerk and the RFO, it actually, at this point in time, I would suggest that you are safe as houses. But we've both been here a level of time. If we were going to run off with your money, we'd probably have done it by now. You know, and we're not, so there we go. What we have said in the conversation leader and I had is that if the RFO and or the clerk were to change, you might want to up it at that point, because you may not have the history and the trust in those 2 particular positions. You also have to build into mind the fact that some of the accounts are 90-day withdrawal lead-ins. So somebody's going to have to plan this and try and get away with it for quite some period of time. Sadly, we do occasionally hear of things happen, and therefore it is a risk. It remains a risk. All I can say to you is at this point in time, but she would say that, wouldn't she? That the town clerk and the CEO are not looking at running off with the money.
Okay, can you have a movie?
No.
Sounds like a mountain.
So we don't think it's necessary, but we would understand if the committee felt that they would like the assurance of, simply for the case of £79 a year.
Oh, so that's what I was just checking. So £79, I thought someone said £79 a month.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Councillor Gibson.
There's got a question, right? It's something that came up at another parish council, which is that we've got our money with NatWest, and I was told that when staff go to make back payments, then their personal account details come up at the same time as the council account details.
Our internal auditor made a very similar comment to me during our internal audit. It is not something that I have ever witnessed.
Can I just say background? I think for something like that can happen. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen ever. What they do when you're asking for if you're working for a local authority or have these responsibilities, if you are already an account holder with those banks, they then use that as your background check. So they don't have to go and do your background checks because they've already got you in the system. So they don't need to check your signature and your driving license and all that sort of thing. So that's how mistakes can happen. It shouldn't, but it should never happen. It's the bank have made that error because they use you as an ID. They use that as an ID form.
So this is a mistake by the bank.
I would say it's a mistake by the
That
bank.
means if the individual logs in as themselves individually, they also see
That's a mistake by the bank. That shouldn't happen. It should only be used as ID.
Right. Okay.
So if that's happening to something that you're involved in, or you can, it is to do with the ID system. It should not be linked at all.
I would think also it's likely that our auditor heard it from the same places, or maybe auditing the same smaller parish councils as you're referring to.
Yeah, that's somewhere we could just double check that.
Yeah, I mean, I can find out which parishes it was, whether it is the ones that you're referring to. You mean, sorry.
That's not the case for us.
You would check it. I mean, whoever I'm assuming you two get in touch with the bank. It would come up if your bank account is set. If you don't bank at a different bank, it wouldn't come up anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I log into the town council's banking every single day, and never has there been any issue like that.
It's only if you have a bank account at the same bank.
No, I just raised it because it seems
it needs to be made aware of, especially moving forward with new people, with new people coming in.
Rose was actually quite disturbing. So.
Yeah. But it is an error with the banks. They shouldn't be doing that. Sorry, Councillor, Mrs. Belsier, Councillor Belsier, then Councillor Barnett. Thank you. Oh, you haven't got anything. Oh, sorry.
As it was, like Councillor Belsier, I thought you said £79 a month, but it is
an additional £79.
For the good order, if it's £79 for the year, I think we should introduce it now. You say if there was a change of staff, then I think to change it then gives a sort of difficult because you've got a change of personnel and then you suddenly, what message are they receiving? I think with £79, I'd like to put it in place. Hopefully there's not a change of staff, but if and when there was, it would already be in place rather than being put in place because there was a change of staff for £79 a year for good order. I would like to see it put in place.
Thank you. Councillor Barnett?
I certainly support that. I think the question I was going to ask was the nature of the risk. But clearly, somebody attempting to take all the money out is highly unlikely. The usual thing is sort of small scale amounts over periods of time. My question really was disappear if we change this, and that's that. What is the nature of the risk? If, let's say, someone siphoned away £10,000 and we were only insured for 3/4 of the money that we had, with the insurance company say you're only going to be covered for 3/4 of your claim.
Scale it.
Would they scale claims? I suppose that's the nature
It's
of it.
possible.
Yeah, that's exactly that. I would say it's possible, but I'd have to speak to the
Insurance
insurance
companies,
company.
The insurance company will
Well,
like you to
tricky.
do that.
Well, seeing as, so I'm going to then propose then on feedback around the table, I'll put it out there. So I propose that we up the risk for the annual sum of £79. May I have a second for that?
Sorry, is it a year or month?
A year, a year, per annum,
Per
per annum, per annum. Month, no, but per year, I'm proposing the extra £79. So may I have a second for that proposal? Thank you, Vice Chair. So any more questions? So we'll take it to the vote. Okay. Thank you, Town Clerk. Does anyone else have any questions on the internal audit for Mr. Chambers? No? Thank you. Thank you for that, and a good audit, midterm audit. Right, item 9, recommendations from the committees. There are 2. We have one from the minutes. Hang on, we need to another appropriate check. Okay, so my 2 of them are.
2 already in the report, and then there's another 2 that everyone's got, and at least a piece of paper on there.
There's an extra one, so everyone's seen those. I've lost count of those on. Right. So we've got one from the Environmental and Sustainable Travel Committee, minutes 198, on the 23rd of November. And that was resolved. The biodiversity duty policy was approved by the committee with the above amendments, recommendation to ask this committee here. And so we need to accept those. And also we have public services, minutes 218 on the 30th of November, resolved necessary to pay for the venue, the community volunteer thank you day. It is recommended to FMGTP. This is met from the existing budgets. We also have the committee. So first of all, would the Councillor Odie, chair of your committee, would you have anything to say on that?
No, do you need to propose it?
No, I can propose. I'm happy to propose that. Are you happy to second?
Yes. Happy to second.
So shall we resolve the first one to the amendments of the policy for the environmental sustainable travel? Right. Thank you. And amendments for the public services. Would you like to say anything on that?
Yeah.
Councillor Whitaker?
It just from memory, confirm with the Town Clerk, it is a town council event, but it's
Yes.
being arranged essentially. The front runners are Queen Victoria's and
We're probably going to waive a cost because it will be a town council event, but we haven't actually got to nitty gritty of that yet. So this is just in case we decide it's not eligible.
and it's a great idea, great event. There's one for the town council to facilitate.
So I'm happy to propose that we accept those. Have a second. Thank you, Councillor Whitaker. You can move to accept those. Thank you, accepted. Right, moving on to the 2 new ones that you received. And this is obviously from the A&T Committee, Ministry of Tourism. And that committee was held last Thursday, which is why they're on the table today for you. The committee considered the fees and charges for the hire of the building from April 2025. It was resolved to recommend to this committee they accept an increase for 25-26, an increase of 5% to the nearest 50 pence. And then we were ongoing free hire of the East Court building, including review of the Stone Quarry Cafe free use. That was a mouthful. Councillor Motford left the room for the East Court in Bloom allowance of meetings when it was being discussed, and agreed before that she returned to the room for consideration of the remaining group's free use.
Can I just query whether I am the councillor that has been involved with the Stone Quarry Cafe? Is it okay for me to be here?
Yes, because you've not been there on behalf of the town council, so it's fine.
Thank you for talking. Thank you. There was a discussion as to the MSVA rooms, and it was explained the background to the rent and the grant. It was updated that the Meridian FM electricity meter for their transmitter is now in place, and their first bill will be issued to them in March and quarterly thereafter. So it was asked to come forward to the committee here for approval. I'm happy to approve those. Is there anything you want to say from as chair of the A&T committee, Councillor Belsey?
Thank you, Jen. So my recollection, just for completeness, my recollection is that the proposal was 5%, but not in the case of weddings, which I think were being frozen. And
that's right.
And regarding the stone quarry for use, I think the way it's worded might not explain to the lay reader, but actually we are no longer permitting for use for Stone Quarry Cafe from after 1st of February onwards, and so we are proposing charging for their rooms from then on.
Yes, proposing that. Yes, they're.
So yes, so it's correct in terms of what happened, but
yes,
that's quite a big change.
Yes, so the Stone Quarry Cafe, it would be agreed that from 1st of February there would be a fee charged, and it would be a rolling increase for the year to the maximum. I think it was
from 250 up to 300.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so it went up in increments.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I've admitted, and that's not what's on here.
No, exactly. So I was just trying.
Yeah, it was in the minutes.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So right. So I'm happy to propose those. Would you like to second? Who would like to second those? Thank you, Councillor Belsey.
Can I just clarify that? Thank you very much. Right. The reason being is because you haven't, the resolution with regards to Stone Quarry is not on here, because that was not a recommendation which was required by this committee. That was determined by the A&T committee alone. The recommendation that came here was regards to the free room use for all the other organisations.
And the Stone Quarry Cafe is not in this.
But unfortunately, it was all part of the second
Yes, it was.
on the agenda, so that's why, just to clarify.
So I apologise for confusing the whole room. So I know I'll take it. So I'm happy to take out the Stone Quarry element. So I'm happy to propose those. May I have a second? Thank you, Councillor Belsey. We can take a vote on those.
That's fine.
Thank you. Right. Right. Item 10 is delegated decisions, and there are none, I do believe. So we can move straight on to.
Can I just confirm that the clerk knew that was Councillor John Belsey who seconded it?
I beg your pardon. What was it doing? Stop.
I'll check with that.
Just, yes, good order.
Through. I beg your pardon, Councillor. What did you say? We ignore this thing.
The seconder was Councillor John Belsey and not Councillor Mrs. Belsey.
We don't note seconders, but if you'd like me to do that in order to make sure it's very clear that it wasn't you, then that's I'll happily do that. Okay, it's fine, one that's all the way through this. I'm just going to turn it down. I think the white's doing this.
Some people can't having fun during the meeting.
Well, it is a Thursday evening.
Yeah, we started talking to. Right, there we go.
Right. Swiftly moving on to item 11, the salary pay increases, staff salary increases. The report has everything's needed, with the cost of living rise included as part of the Green Book standards. All staff by local government are all paid by such standards called the Green Book standards, and it's the basis of all staff contracts and their terms and conditions. So the committee, please, are just asked to note the increase has now been applied, as we mentioned earlier, which is why it had a hike going up. In the minutes earlier of the expenditure. Thank you, committee. Item 12, personnel matters. Just to note that Miss Merrick's maternity leave cover and the return to work of a staff member following long-term sickness, and to note that this part-time caretaker role has now been recruited for. And hopefully the young lady that's taken place is Rosie, and she'll be with us for a longer period of time. I also need to let you note that all members of staff are eligible to join the local government pension scheme. What I would just like to say, Merrick has had the arrival of a very safe arrival of a little baby girl called Mabel. So I'd like to pass on my congratulations, as I'm sure you all would as well. And what a beautiful name. I think it's very exciting. I think it's a beautiful name. So congratulations to the family.
Absolutely.
So that's the rest of that is just for noting.
Noted.
Sorry, can I just ask a question? Just about just for me, I just get uncomfortable when we name people in the report, but I know it's a personnel report, so it's quite difficult not to name. I'm just interested in whether that's sort of, we follow other councils in that. So I just feel there's a bit.
We do not make any reference to anybody with regards to payroll or salary issues. We would never name them from that point of view. We do have to on occasion refer to people to do with matters such as severance or long-term sick. Those items always go into the Part 2 private matters. Matters such as this, where it's obviously good news and nice news about Miss Merrick's has been. It seems to be okay, and they're all aware that they have been named in it. We always name new staff coming in so that councillors have an opportunity to see what the names of the new staff are.
Otherwise, we would not have
Some have been gone quicker than we can learn. Amiable. And I'm also very pleased actually that role was filled so quickly, which is a blessing. So that's good news for the team, especially this time of year. Item 13, Christmas closing hours. Just this is for noting that the opening hours of the council offices over the festive season. East Court and the library team have decided they would like to man the desk, as the library will be open Thursday and Friday. Sue and Roger are doing a day each. The rest of the hours you've seen in the briefing, so that is for noting. Thank you. Right, I confused myself earlier on this one, so I'm going to get it right with you all around the table today. The calendar of meetings for 2024-25, they are all attached in your pack. We'd like to agree the dates for the committee meetings for 24-25, noting that the council meeting dates are determined by the council. Next year's meetings also to request that the environmental sustainable travel becomes bi-monthly rather than monthly. So a recommendation to approve the schedule of meetings as set out in Appendix F, and to note the changed meeting patterns for the environmental and sustainable travel. I would like to propose those.
I'd like to second.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any questions? Thank you. All in favour? Thank you. This is where I confused myself earlier. Right, item 15, the annual town meeting 2024. Thank you. To agree to move the meeting date to Tuesday the 26th of March, as the original date was Wednesday the 20th of March, but there is a clash with the Mid Sussex District Council meeting. And I thought a lot of our councillors wear two hats. So it would be prudent for us to move that date for all to be able to attend. I would like to propose that move to the 26th of March, 2024. Please may I have a second? Thank you, Vice Chair. Any questions? Move straight to vote to approve. Thank you, committee. Right, item 16, it's Chequermead annual report. This is to receive the annual report from the Chequermead Community Arts. So Councillor Barnett is just going to leave the room. And I'm going to pass this over now to my Vice Chair. And I'm going to stay in the room in case you have any questions that I'm going to try.
Item 16 is Chequermead annual report. To receive the annual report from the Chequermead Community and Arts Centre. Report has been provided. As Chair has suggested, she will relinquish the chair to myself, the Vice Chair, for this item, and give you the report on Chequermead. The official accounts and annual report have been included in the papers. Purpose is to ensure the good stewardship of Chequermead and to feed into the budget considerations over the next few weeks. The report is for noting. Please, would you direct any question you have to the chair and then it will be, the item will be for noting. So have we got any questions for the chair regarding this item? Councillor Whitaker.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Yeah, it's really just a general update. Historically, what we've had is a contextual sort of narrative description in the report rather than the full audited report, which I greatly appreciate the audited report. But that was from March 22, and obviously the year to March 23. That audited report is probably in its final stages, being signed off at the moment. People meeting before Christmas, so I understand those figures aren't available. Could you give us a steer potentially? I mean, it's good news that, you know, on this audited report, because to March 22 was obviously the first year after sort of COVID, really, in recovery.
Yes, thank you. So this actual report it seems so dated and so long ago. So this was March 22. We've obviously got March 23, and we're about to finish. You know, we're coming up to the following season of 24. Last year was an improvement on 22. The saving grace was the pantomime was back on, and we did a full panto season, and that always increases and brings the money up. The apron, that is a charity, that anything money that makes us profit as a CIC company, the profit of that goes into the Chequermead, and that helps balance the budget. We did better than other theatres on that year, finishing March 23. There's still some way to go. This year is an improvement already. We managed to save some money on staffing last year when we were struggling to recruit in certain positions, so that helped us. We're now at full capacity with staffing. So this year's budget will be slightly, although we're doing better, the salary has gone up more. But for 2023 was an improvement on this one. I can't give you exact figures, but I can get more figures for you to send. But it is improving in the right direction.
That's fine. Just one other question. Obviously, the police have been in the contact centre in March, it'll be seven years, and we were doing 2017. Has the rent been reviewed? I can't remember what the terms are.
I'm trying to remember and think back.
A review every 5 years.
There's a review. They had a review and it didn't go up. And we haven't had a recent review, so I'll come back to you on that one. But they are paying, and they have to pay for this a long contract that they've got. Yeah. So whatever talk they say of how much they're going to be in the contact centre or not, they are committed to supporting the theatre with their rental on that.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So but I'm not sure if they had an increase recently. There's not had one recently, but I don't know when the last one was.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Sorry.
Are there any other questions? Councillor Belsey.
No, just double check what our position was on 31st March 22. Just to
Sorry?
The position of East West Town Council in terms of providing, did we carry on paying a grant?
Yes.
COVID? Just when you look at page 18 of the account.
Yeah, I looked at, there was a page.
It's not illustrated in the notes of the accounts.
It is on a page, it is on there somewhere in a funny place.
We certainly pay.
You did pay.
Just note 3 to the account.
On page 18, I looked at it as well, and it's not in the same place that the one was previously. So whether when the grant came in, I'm not sure, because it's actually showing as 2021 and not showing one as 2022, and there was definitely one paid. So I made a note of that myself to bring actually to the trustees, because it was definitely paid, but it's not. It's not in the same place in the document as it was for the previous year.
It might likely in that other.
It's going to be somewhere else in that other, but it should have followed in the same place.
Absolutely.
And I have noted that to talk to them about.
Thank you.
Just general comment. It's great to see the theatre, recovering from COVID now, sort of 2 years after the event. Clearly, Snow White. I think ticket sales are very good, and there's really buzz again about the place. So it's really great news. Well done to you and all the trustees. And keep up a good work. And
I shall
all the staff.
I shall pass that on to everybody. They have worked extremely hard, and Beauty and the Beast next year. So we'll move on and enjoy that one as well. So thank you.
Can I ask someone, let's Councillor Barnett back in if we finish that item?
Yeah, noted.
Sorry, the items for noted, is that agreed?
No,
thank you.
Right. I'll take the chair back. But any questions for that in the future, I'll have a better report for you for the next meeting if you desire. Right. Item 17 is councillor allowances for 2024-25. And this is to agree the level of allowances for the councillors 24-25. It's shown a recommendation that the mayoral allowance is an uplift and that the councillors remain at the same level. I would like to propose that the mayoral allowance is an uplift by 6.4% and that councillors' allowance remains as was for 2023-2024. Please may I have a second?
I'd like to second that.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Would anybody like to say anything on that before we go to vote? If we could move to accept that, please.
Carried.
Thank you. Okay, so item 18, I know there's going to be some discussion on this, I believe. The Youth Sports Grants Committee are asked to consider the applications and allocate the budgeted grants. The recommendation is in the report. And I would like to propose that we take it as set out. Please, may I have a second?
I'd like to second that.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'd like to open it up now if anyone would like to make any discussion or make any points on that. Thank you, Councillor Belsey.
Thank you, Jen. And thank you. I know you did give us the opportunity to have a look through the grants and things, you know, recommendations and things like that before. I suppose it was just, and I didn't prepare myself. But I've read the pages, that's why I've got a question. So very great, and it's great that we've got such thriving sports communities in the town. One of the grants is for the sports club for £1,200. Oh, they applied for thousands to support the youth paddle tennis programme, and I'm a very big racket sports supporter myself. However, my slight concern is that there is no paddle sports commission in East Grinstead, and there's not even the application in yet for the paddle courts to go in. So I know there is a momentum behind it, and it's one of the fastest growing sports in the world, and we're really good to have it. But if the paddle courts aren't actually built during the next 12 months, will either does the money come back to us? I suppose we're not spending money on it for next year for a project that actually will not exist.
I can answer that if you like.
Yes,
Chair.
please.
The money's been awarded this year, and you can influence that. So we did this a few years ago with the trampolining club. They weren't quite in a position to raise all their funds, and so it was awarded to them on the understanding that they had to raise at least 50% of the funds before they could come and ask for it. They never did come and ask for it, so that money has been part of it. This could be held in the same way that when they need it, they can come and ask for it.
I think probably from there, if it's significant funding from the LTA, they'll get significant funding from elsewhere. I think it's really important that they're able to demonstrate that their local parish and district council support them. But I just got a slight concern that it's a bit ambitious potentially to create something out of nothing in just a 12 months.
It is an ambitious project, and but they have to start it. They have to start the project too.
Sure.
There's lots of chicken and egg with that one, I think, that project. But I'm quite happy that we put in, and I can re-propose putting that caveat in. Yes, anybody else would like to make a comment? Councillor Gibson.
Just an observation. I feel sure that the youth paddle tennis programme is not going to cost £630,000. I feel that's the entire.
That is the entire project.
The rest of it. I just felt it was probably a bit misleading in that respect. The increments, I mean, to my mind, we're funding the whole of the youth element then.
Not with £1,200.
Well, yeah, I can check.
But point taken.
Yes.
Point taken. It is the whole project.
Existed, they will be applying for £1,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Whittaker.
Yeah, just a really comment again. I'm really proud of this town council supporting sports and youth sports in particular. We've got an exceptional record of that, and I'm very glad to see that trend continues.
Thank you, Councillor Whittaker. Councillor Mrs. Belsey.
Thank you. I just would say that I don't remember a period of the last 2-3 years when so many new sports have been introduced, particularly with rackets and outside courts. I mean, every time in insurance world, new sport is coming in with a public body being introduced. I can certainly not remember this happening for so many, and everybody's looking like, how does this one work? How does that one? There are just so many sports, and it will be difficult to support them all, and how many of them will actually survive, because there seems to be another one taking over the shorter court or a wider court or whatever. So it's interesting to watch. I mean, it's great. The more, you know,
I think we watch this space, isn't
It
it, and
is,
see what
very
happens
much.
with all of these sports, because we all know we're not going to have another pot of money that's going to be able to support and move these things moving forward.
Pickleball, it just goes on and on.
Yeah.
So many
Although I quite
different
fancy
sports.
pickleball myself, but no pickleball club here. So we've had I've nominated, we've had a second, so please can I vote that we accept those? Thank you. Right, moving on to the final item on the agenda. Item 19, the Henry Smith, John Smith and Sidney Bletchley Charity Trustees. They need to appoint a new trustee. There don't seem to be any specific rules about the constitution, therefore the committee can approve whatever it wishes. The board have nominated Mid-Sussex District Councillor Dick Sweatman to join the board, along with Mrs. Tanya Heyman and Miss Lynn Smith. I would like to propose that we accept those nominations. Do I have a second?
Before, could I ask something before? Is that in addition to myself?
Yes, these are the new people
ones.
being added on.
New people,
So there
yes.
would be two from the town council.
Only one from the town council, which will be you for the time being.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Yes.
fine.
Councillor Sweatman's only district now, so yeah, you'll remain the same. It's new ones to replace ones that are going.
That's
Yes,
fine. Yes, I'd
yes.
like to second that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Scarlett. Would anyone like to, does anyone have anything to say, or we move to accept those? Thank you. Right, that concludes this evening's meeting. I thank you all very much for your time. I would like to say, as it's the last meeting of this committee, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Our next meeting will be held on Thursday, the 21st of March, 2024, ready for spring. I call this meeting closed at 8:51. 7:51. You tell Helen's very keen. If you'd like to stop recording. Get to my girlfriend's for a prosecco.